Welcome to the mediabox. I'm joined by two guests. First of all, Evgenia Kara-Murza, whose husband Vladimir, of course, sentenced a week or so ago to 25 years in jail in Russia. We've talked already about your reaction to that, Evgenia. I wanted to ask you, in terms of Vladimir's whole story over the years, how have you and your family sought to cope with that?
Thank you very much for having me here today. Vladimir's story is truly a very long one because he's been the opposition to Vladimir Putin's regime since Vladimir Putin came to power 23 years ago. And indeed, with two attempts on his life in the past in 2015, 2017, and now this absolutely Kafkaesque trial in Moscow that ended up in a 25-year prison sentence, our family has been going through this hell for many years. Just like the war in Ukraine that really began in 2014 with the annexation of Crimea. That a very challenging path for our family began in 2015 with Vladimir's first poisoning. Coping with that is not always easy. There are better days and there are bad days. The kids are absolutely, of course, terrified for their father. But Vladimir also somehow manages to teach them a very important lesson. Even, he still manages being a father and a good father, even behind bars in a Russian prison, because through his position, through his activism, through his fight, he teaches them a lesson that you should face bullies with courage always, that you should defend your loved ones, that you should be prepared to stand up for your principles, that you should be prepared to risk a lot to defend those principles. And I believe that this is a very useful lesson, although very, very hard one. And I know that our kids are making the right conclusions because I know that they watch him and they come to the right conclusions because I see that they're becoming more active in that regard. Our 14-year-old just wrote her essay, her end of school year essay on political prisoners in Russia. Out of all topics, she chose this one. And our 17-year-old just made her first public speech in support of her father at the US Congress in front of a very big auditorium filled with people and very important people. And she went up there and collected herself and, just faced all that and talked about her father and about other political prisoners in Russia. So there are different days. And we try to manage as best we can because we understand that there is no other way. And we understand that we honestly don't have any choice. We're going to continue fighting for Vladimir, and I'm going to continue his work, speaking on behalf of other political prisoners in the Russian Federation, speaking against this war, calling for sanctions against those criminals in the Kremlin. I will continue it for as long as it takes me.
Sanaa Seif, a different story, similar one in some ways. In your case, it's not just you, it's your brother in jail in Egypt, and you've been jailed too for your activism and for advocating on his behalf. How have you kept going, and what's kept the rest of your family going?
I know pressure works. I know that the Egyptian authorities can seem like they have thick skin, but I know from experience that pressure works because I'm out. And so this keeps me going, but also since I started my campaign, especially campaigning abroad, like internationally, I can see that my brother's conditions keep improving with time. So a year and a half ago, my brother was in this horrible maximum security prison. He was denied everything, books, sunlight, even a clock to be aware of what the time of the day. And now he is in a relatively better facility. He has music, he has books, he has a window so he can see the sky. And so I've experienced both sides, and I know that these small things matter. It makes life bearable. And so until he's out, I know that I'm at least protecting him with my advocacy. So I can't stop. I don't really have a choice.
And what message have you brought to this assembly, the PACE Assembly, and what have you been discussing here?
I'm urging European policymakers to look again and question the way they engage with the Egyptian authorities. Unlike Russia, Egypt is an ally to the West, but our president, General Sisi, he looks up to Putin a lot. So there are a lot of similarities in policy, in the oppression, in the forms of oppression. But because he's managed to make the right alliances, kind of the international community is a bit silent about this. So I think European countries can have much more effect on the situation in Egypt because we are allies. So my message is always, it's not intervene in Egyptian politics, it's challenge the way your governments do foreign relations with Egypt, basically. There's a lot of military sales between Egypt and many European countries like Germany and France. The US sends 1.3 billion of military aid to Egypt every year. Some of this aid now has been conditioned to human rights conditions, but this is due to a lot of advocacy work. And so the situation in Egypt can become a little bit better with the help of solidarity from the international community, basically.
Evgenia, in terms of the role that the likes of PACE, international organisations, can play, obviously everybody's situation is very different, but what should they be doing?
Everybody's situation is different, but, well, we are sitting here with Sanaa and we come from different places, but our plight is the same. And our fight is the same. So human rights violations, I believe, should never be seen as an internal affair of any state. Because when human rights violations are happening, the world that stands for democracy and human rights should intervene and should send a clear message to those dictators that the world, the democratic community knows who the real perpetrators are, who the real criminals are, and they not let them get away with committing those crimes. So this is my main message. Please remind those dictators that you know that there are political prisoners, that you know that people are being oppressed, and that you will fight for them because you understand who the true criminals are.
Evgenia Kara-Murza and Sanaa Seif, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.